usually I have everybody introduce themselves, but we're going to skip that because I feel like these industry titans don't really need an introduction. They also have QR codes if you want to connect with them and learn more about their success. But we are going to go ahead and get started with our first topic, which is market outlooks and economic trends. And my first question is for anybody who wants it. What is one thing most agents are getting wrong about the 2026 Chicago market, and how should we be planning differently?
I'm happy to take that.
Perfect.
Speaking for myself and probably a few people in the room, I think, maybe not everyone, we tend to want to control, well, pretty much everything, and certainly every aspect of the real estate transaction. That's unusual for, as my daughter would say.
Scream.
There you go. But we can't control some of the things that are happening in the market that are making things quite difficult beginning in 2025. Interest rates, nothing we can do to control that. A&N can't control that. Low inventory, can't control that. What can we control? We can control positive attitude, because positive attitude will convey to your clients, buyer or seller. We can also control, to a certain extent, inventory by staying engaged with our clients that are sitting on 4.5% interest rates that maybe want to sell, maybe have reached out to us about their interest in selling, but the first thing they say is, I'm sitting on 4% and I'm not going to buy up and then go to 6 or 6.25%. I'm going to wait for the rates to drop. Well, how much equity do you have in your home? Are prices going to go up when rates go down? Very likely, yes. Why not take that equity, leverage that into your new purchase, and when rates drop, refinance? So that's an economic opportunity, and it gets them thinking less about the psychology of the interest rate and more about the opportunity that presents itself to them. For buyers, open their eyes to an alternate neighborhood. Talk to them about, while you wait for the rate to go up, and how many of us have had someone that started looking for something in early 2025 and still haven't purchased because at the time they thought prices were so high. Well, prices have increased, I mean, in some cases 25%, and not much has happened to the rate. Had they bought early on, they would, and rates have dropped a little bit and will drop in 2026. They could have made an opportunity purchase. So it's about, again, staying positive, knowing the market, micro, not macro. Don't look at the headlines of what's happening nationally, because that will just freak you out, it does me. And focus on client engagement, staying positive, and mostly educating your buyers and sellers.
Anyone have anything else to add?
I think on the inventory topic, don't be a victim. Like, we can all sit there and say, oh, there's nothing for my buyers to buy. I get calls probably 2 or 3 a week from brokers saying, Jenny, you represented a buyer who bought a house here or a condo there. It's just like what my clients are looking for. Do you think your sellers would be willing to sell? And so you can make a market. And so if you're on the buy side, hunt for that. Look at what you've sold in the past. Your clients who might have bought a condo from you 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago are probably thinking about growing it. So as you're working with that move-up buyer, it's a great opportunity to reach out and get 2 or 3 or 4 deals out of it because you made that call. And we're finding that really is critical. So again, it's really easy to say, oh my God, I can't take you out this weekend. There's nothing to show you. Like, go find the listings and go to the brokers who sold them if you didn't sell them yourself, but make a market. I think that's really important.
Do you have anything to add about misconceptions before we move on to? Okay.
Really quickly, it's maybe not a misconception, but it's something I think all agents and brokers should do pretty much all year, but especially at the beginning of the year. Your clients are going to have Hanukkah or Christmas dinner with all their know-it-all relatives from other parts of the country. You need to, I think, have at least some semblance of the local market and disabuse people of the fact that just because California is this or Florida is that Chicago is the same. I think, to put it generally, you should know the local economy, the local market, and have all the headlines that are either true or not true clear in your head. So when you do either speak to know-it-all relatives or potential clients or anyone else that you run into, you appear to be, and you are, sort of an expert on sort of cutting through the noise instead of just regurgitating or repeating the headlines that you see or hear. I think clients, family, whomever, if you come off as not a rah-rah realtor and not a Debbie Downer.
Hey, I take umbrage at that.
You're a Debra. It's my mother-in-law's Debra. It's definitely Debbie Downer. Anyway, I think you come off as the expert or be the expert, because a lot of people look at us as like, oh, they've got how lucky they got the past 3 years. A monkey could have sold that house. Well, be the expert. Show them why you're successful or why you're in the business, and I think you get more mileage and possibly deals out of that.
I think that's really, we've done 26 of these panels in a row with the top producers in Chicago, and every single top producer talks about how they educate themselves in the local market almost every single day. So I feel like, especially if you're a newer agent or a growing agent, it's so important because you're going up against one of these top producers that's been doing it forever and knows their stuff. So education, I feel like, is so important.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
To anyone who is in the crowd that is a new agent and you're looking and hearing, oh my gosh, look at, you're selling X amount of volume. Don't focus on that. But find the agents that you respect, that you like, that you feel you can have a conversation with, and reach out to them. I have coffee with loads of agents throughout the year, and I'm willing to share all the knowledge I have. Like, I've had people ask, what kind of swag do you do? I saw that e-blast, or I saw that post. Why? They ask questions. And I speak for the three of us. I know when we are absolutely available and love nothing more than acting as a mentor to someone that's new in the business. After 43 years, I kind of like that. I learn something at every meeting. So
They come to my broker opens, a lot of the newer agents, and we have those conversations. How do you get the listing? How are you marketing it? What's your activity like? How do you overcome objections? So be curious, like be that person, because it's true. Like, we're happy to share, want to share, and yeah.
Amazing. My next question is for you, Mario. How does brokerage consolidation affect consumers and agents going into 2026?
oh boy.
So I gave this one to you.
I will say this, I'll be frank, I think it is not great for agents. We have very few places to go if where we're at is not what we like, so that's not a good thing for agents. I think for consumers, in a weird way, I think it's good because there are fewer places to have to go to find things. So no matter what brokerage you're at, if there are fewer splinters to go either find an agent or get information and so on, I think it's better for consumers where they know not only where it is, but also that it's likely reliable. It's not sort of automated algorithm values or anything that may have been misleading in the past. But frankly, for agents, I don't think it's a great thing. So.
Thanks for taking that one. No, that was a hard question. Not everyone's favorite. This one's for you, Deborah. Will developers increase new construction in the city in 2026?
Well, this is where I'm going to channel my inner Jeff Lowe, for any of you that recognize that name, and probably all of you. So I had a conversation with him yesterday. I shared what... Oh, okay. I shared what I... Is that good?
Yeah.
So I shared what my take on new construction, and I sell some new construction. I have a lot of clients this past year that bought new construction, houses and condos, but he's the expert along with this guy next to me. And in Chicago, it takes 6 months to a year lead time to bring a new construction project to the market. And longer if it's a huge development, but even a 3-unit condo building or a single-family home or boutique building, that's how long it takes to get through making the purchase, the planning, the architecture, planning, permitting, and financing, big deal there. And anything that's coming to the market in 2026, the cake's already baked. So there are projects coming up to the market, some really nice projects and some medium-sized projects. The West Loop is, the data that I'm reading about the West Loop is that prices are softening, but there's a huge hunger for residential properties in the West Loop, and scarcity of land. Scarcity of land is a big barrier to entry and will continue to be so in 2026. Financing, I'm sure you guys can speak to that better than I, but that's also difficult to get financing for these projects. The numbers are tough, but demand is out there. So short answer is we will see new construction in 2026 and more than we saw in 2025. But what will happen at the end of 2026 into 2027 is up for grabs. And by the way, for anyone that likes to drive around and look for parcels of property or use Forewarn or whatever these other third-party sites are, I would say look for properties where someone has been in that property for 7 or 10 years to their lifetime. And knock on, well, I'm not so sure it's a good idea to knock on doors, but a professionally designed card, or better yet, a letter that is dear to the owner and your name. Make sure you are not trying to solicit the listing, but that's an opportunity for anyone who's trying to develop their business to not only pick up a sale, but then bring that property to a developer, and then you get the back-end sale of the condo or the house.
Awesome.
Okay, can I add something really quick?
Yeah.
In any cycle where you're 3, 4, 5 years into a big run-up in value, the limiter to a lot of new construction building is the seller of the land thinks it's worth way more than it really is. They forget that you actually have to spend money on building it. They forget that you have to make a profit, and that it might cost money to carry it, and permitting, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, one. And two, I think when I look for land, frankly, I drive around and look for bad roofs and window units. And if they're in decent neighborhoods or good neighborhoods that are on the rise, those are the ones I target. Then I, like Deborah, I go see how long they've owned it. If they've owned it for at least 10 years, it's worth an outreach. But new construction, as Deborah said, it's more and more tough now. And I think it's not going to be, there's more need than there will be supply, because I think the sellers of that land are very, very enamored, and also sometimes have 17 siblings, the parents died, and they all want more money, and then it's for at least for the infill stuff, that's what I think is going to limit it.
Perfect.
Can I have one other comment?
Yeah.
What we're not seeing are the big luxury towers. You know, there's no new 2550 Lakeview going up. The last couple of big luxury towers did not do well, and they had price softening and issues. You know, you look at St. Regis or One Chicago or the 2 Lend-Lease properties, and I think it's going to be a while. The people who could build those are either leaving Chicago or they're doing multifamily. So we're talking about new construction, but smaller projects, it's unfortunate, because I think there are people who would love new luxury, well-located towers, but I don't, unless I'm missing something, I don't think there's any in the pipeline.
Awesome. Great. We're gonna go ahead and get started talking about the meat and potatoes of this topic, which is 2026 business planning questions. And I do have these directed at you each individually, but if you want to jump in and add things, please do. And this first one is for you, Deborah. How do you plan your annual business budget, and which investments give you the best return? So anything, leads, mailers, events, gifts, everything.
So we have a very small team. I have my daughter, who's sitting here, 2 other agents, and then I have 3 support people, an admin assistant, and also we're also a family affair. So my brother is my search engine optimization AI professional. Wow. We've been doing organic search since 2012. So we get about 1/3 of our leads, maybe a little bit more, through mostly SEO, but we're starting, I just had 2 leads this year from something called Claude. Mortified to say, I thought they were referring to a past client of mine named Claude, and then it turns out it was AI. Like, so now I'm all over like trying to figure out who are all these AI players out there. So about 1/3 of our business comes from that, and then about half come through client engagement with past clients, which I think is absolutely critical. I will spend time and money there before social media, before search engine optimization. Luckily, so the other person that I have on my team is my brother's wife, my sister-in-law. She does all of our marketing, designed and built our website, Also works with Michael on the AI side. She's also super creative and comes up with things like, this started again probably 10 or 12 years ago. Every year on the anniversary date of a client that purchased a property, and I have clients going back to 1988, so everyone that bought something through me that hasn't sold that property gets an anniversary gift. A keychain. The most popular this year are custom designed playing cards that are super cute. Luggage tags, another big hit. I look for things that are inexpensive, try to be under $5, custom, tiny little branding, not much. It just says debradobbs.com, but in small print. So I want this to be something that isn't screaming brand, but it's a reminder. That is a huge crowd pleaser, and we will continue. So I digress. So Eva and Michael then look at what is our ROI. We track every lead that comes in, where did it come from? What did we spend on getting that lead? We can track this through Google Analytics. There's also analytics on social media that Eva and Michael structure. So that helps us define what we want to do for the next year. So for this year, we're really not changing much because what we're doing is absolutely working. Yeah. My weak link is social media. Thank you all, Taylor and group, for letting me do these 2 video out there with you. So we are going to be hyper-focused this year on ramping up our social media, particularly short-form video. I really don't know what that is, but evidently we've done quite a bit of it. You could probably help with that. So what else do we do?
Can I ask you, so you said you have a full-time employee working on, you called it search engine optimization, but AI too, right?
Yes.
And a third of your business comes from that?
Yes.
Wow. So not to spill all your secrets, but Claude is that some type of like
It's an
lead gen?
It's an AI, I believe it's considered an AI assistant.
Wow.
This is a learning curve for me as well. But so you could go to, if you wanted to do a search right now on ChatGPT, that's an option. Google Gemini for Google search, but you could also go to Claude, which I've now bookmarked. Because
I can't believe a third of your business is coming? That's amazing.
Yeah, so it's a third, so 50% past clients, really about 33 to 35% through lead generation, through SEO. We have a chat bot on our website, and then the rest comes from referrals from other agents. A couple of clients that saw listings of mine, the listing didn't work out for them, but then they reached out to me asking if I would represent them as the buyer. So that's sort of smaller group there.
Sorry to get off topic. That was just really interesting. And does your brother have anybody that can do that for me? Because I feel like I need to hire somebody.
He's an SEO guru.
Oh, sorry.
SEO guru.
That's amazing.
I mean, he's doing work for Ken Youngworth, if anyone knows Ken from At Properties. I don't even know. I've referred agents have reached out about my website. They've also hired my sister-in-law to build their websites.
Wow, that's amazing. Perfect. Okay, next question is for you, Mario. How do you plan the new year with your team, and what are your keys to agent retention and healthy, mutually beneficial relationships?
Okay. First of all, I think I need to marry better, and I need to have better siblings. I pay for all. Never mind. Anyway.
I pay for this. It's not free labor.
Of course you do. Okay. Probably not market rate.
And 2 of them live in the Czech Republic, by the way, so we do all this remotely, my brother and sister-in-law.
That's awesome.
So I've been in this for 22 years and been a large group for probably 15 of those years. And one thing I learned very early in those 15 years is I don't wait until the end of the year to plan for the next year. I try to track and plan quarter by quarter, sometimes month by month. And one thing I do not only to keep me sane, but also to keep my agents sort of their eye on the ball is have a running list of either buyers or sellers and approximate time that they're either going to start looking, if they're not immediately looking, or when they're going to list if they're not immediately listing. So we have a running list of what business is coming in the pipeline. I think in the fourth quarter when things slow down and some newer agents panic, like, oh my God, I'm never going to sell anything again. Knowing what's coming in the next year helps not only plan your mood, but also what you might have to do or spend or hire in certain situations to meet the demand that's coming. Related to that is the agent relationship, retention, mutually beneficial, all of those words. I think if agents know that there's business coming and that, in my case, as I get older and lazier, I do hand off a lot of the business that comes in that isn't a direct referral. So they also feel like there's business for them in case their business isn't there for whatever reason. So I try to give as much of the business that comes in as I can to my agents to keep them happy. And agent retention related to that. It's not only giving them business, but also, I don't know how other teams are organized, but I have 4 full-time assistants or staff. One of them works nights and weekends, and 3 of them work normal business hours. But all of my agents are able to use all of my staff free of charge. I pay for the overhead. So their salaries I cover. I split marketing costs with all of my agents based on the split we have. So if Joe brings in a listing and we're on a 80-20 or 50-50 split, I pay for half of the marketing expenses and they pay for half. So I try to share the expense with them so they feel like there's a reason to be part of the group. Because once one of your agents hits 5, 7, 10 million, what the hell are they doing with you when they can go do their own thing? And what I provide is infrastructure and as much business to them as I can.
Perfect. All right, Jennifer, I feel like this is perfectly timed with your recent big sale that I want you to brag about a little bit. But what's one strategy that can help agents get challenging listings sold faster in the new year?
You're talking about my St. Regis sale?
Yeah, maybe it wasn't challenging, but you should brag.
Well, it's interesting. St. Regis, I have to close it out in the MLS, but we sold it for more than $1 million under my asking price. Now, most of you think, oh my God, your client hates you. My client was texting me saying, you rock. Because in that case, she just didn't want it anymore. And so sometimes we get in the way. So my question that I'm supposed to answer is, strategy with challenging listings. We'll start by understanding the motivation of your client. Yes. Because not every client is sitting there. We project what we think they want. We think that they want the best price. But sometimes they just want to sell. I've got an estate sale. It's not in the MLS yet. And it's the same thing. And some of the people in this co-op were like, wow, you could have sold that for more. It's like, no, the family wanted to close this year. Like, we got it done. And so a lot of times, switching, I get calls to interview for listings that haven't sold. And when I meet with those people, I'm all ears and I'm not talking a lot initially. And the first question I always ask is, what happened? And usually the answer is, I don't know, because I really never heard from my broker. And I'm like, wait, it's been a year. I know. And I never heard. Well, how were your showings? I'm not sure. Did you have showings? I think so. Did you get offers? No. So I think sometimes people get listings and they're not getting the activity they think, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe they're afraid to call their client because they're afraid they're mad at them or disappointed. So then they withdraw from the listing and they're not present. And it's the opposite. Like if something's not selling, you need to be more engaged. You need to be showing them what you're doing. And you need to tell them all the things that you're doing that might not necessarily be priced. So we might change the first picture. Say, you know what? We decided that we need to mix it up a little bit, so we're going to change the first picture. Or I might take the copy after I've had a listing for 30 days or 60 days and it's not selling, and I say, you know what? Something's wrong. We're not attracting the right kind of buyers. So I'd say to the seller, we're going to change your marketing copy. We're going to try it. We're going to host an event in your unit. We're going to try a different approach to our email campaign. We're going to do a group brokers open. Like, I just had a closing yesterday at 132 Delaware. We were the second broker. We had this listing for 2 years. It was a hard sale because it had stone floors. And everybody who came through said, I want hardwood. I don't want stone. Oh, it's too much work. And when I called the client yesterday to thank her and to say it had closed, she said, thank you for sticking with us
Wow.
for 2 years. Thank you for getting it done finally. And it was, I think, I talked to my team about it this morning. The reason that she had that reaction was because she knew we had her back. Even when it didn't sell, even when one buyer abandoned the contract, weirdly enough, before closing, another buyer killed it. Like, it was just disappointment after disappointment, but she knew we loved her and we were going to get her across the finish line. So to go to this question about a difficult listing, it's about communication, it's about having them feel the love, it's about being proactive and doing things so that even if it's not selling, your client believes that you're on their team and that you're going to get it done eventually.
Wow.
I couldn't agree more. I think no news is bad news to a seller. So even if there's no news, talk to them. And if there's bad news, tell them right away. And I think you're right.
It's words,
It buys
not text,
Right,
not email,
right.
words, call them.
It buys loyalty, and yeah, I agree with Jenny completely.
Awesome. Thank you. That was very well spoken. This one is for you, Debra. What tactics do you use to win multiple offer situations with your buyers that other agents often overlook?
So listening to Jenny's absolutely spot-on explanation answer, knowing the seller's motivation. So before writing an offer, and this is sort of a second point, but before writing an offer, talk to the listing agent. What is motivating the seller?
Yep.
Anytime an agent says, what does your client want? What does your seller want on price? Well, the listing price or higher. So that's not the question to ask. And it really sets off the wrong relationship with the seller. And when I say in a multiple offer situation, it is of paramount importance. Just as important as your deal terms is that you have a rock star relationship with the seller, which means always, which we are, but always being professional. But in that particular scenario, make sure you show up at the showing on time. Make sure you are enthusiastic, but your clients and you are still playing poker. Don't give away the house, but make sure that you're showing that you like the property, because enthusiasm is going to go a long way toward the listing agent being able to say to the seller, they really love the house. They got the vibe. They didn't ask me a million questions about when was it last tuck pointed. So understand the motivation of the seller and understand that it's not really always about price. But before I even get to a showing, when I'm working with a buyer, and this is something new, we just started this in 2025, I educate the buyer. So now as part of my buyer interview and my buyer presentation package, I have a section, it's just one page, but it talks about what is a multiple offer and what do I need to do, or what do I need to know about a multiple offer? And I cannot tell you how helpful this has been. So it's just a one-pager. It's not alarming. It's very factual, but this is what it means to be in a multiple offer, and here are the things that you can do to best position yourself to win the deal. And it talks about the financing part. Most important is, after you've picked a great agent to work with, is have a great lender, and make sure that that lender can give you, and make sure it's a reputable lender. I don't like to badmouth, I'm just paraphrasing this, so I don't say to them, don't use someone that's an online lender, but use but don't use someone as an online lender.
That just came out.
But I frame it in a way that the strongest pre-approval letter, if you are not able to close in cash, 90% of my buyers are not able to do that. They might be able to waive financing, but they're not sitting on $1 million or $2 million to drop on a property. Make sure that you have the most robust pre-approval letter from a lender that has an A+ reputation, because that is going to matter. And make sure that that lender can give you a rock-solid approval, subject only to underwriting and those sorts of conditions. And if you need to have a mortgage contingency after you get that rock-solid letter, see if they can turn around an approval in 5 or 7 business days. The tighter, if all of your other terms are great and you've offered more money and you've given your client the closing date, and maybe you're giving them a post-closing possession that your agent found out was important, then they might take your offer even with that mortgage contingency, because you found out up front what is important to them is closing date and the ability to stay in the property for a month. And if you put the inspection contingency in, personally, I do not advise clients to waive inspection. I think it's not a good path to go down unless you know that it's going to be a gut renovation anyway. But you could say something like, you put a cap, $5,000, $10,000, whatever. We will accept all items except for, we might come back on mold. There's all sorts of ways you can frame this, but it's have a rock solid offer, have a rock solid, reputable pre-approval, and then, I know this sounds ridiculously simple, but I can't tell you how many offers I get that I go through the offer, and in a multiple offer, it's a pain in the ass, I promise you. You have to go through every page of every offer. Did they miss initials? Did they not include the disclosures? Did they not include their lender and attorney information on the signature page? All of this stuff is going to get kicked back, and it just shows a level of sloppiness that you don't want to present, because when the seller's agent goes to their client to present these offers, the first thing the seller, after reading all the details and everything is closely aligned on terms, which agent would you say is likely to bring the deal to closing? Which deal is really going to get closed? And we're closing on Tuesday on a house with an agent that we were fourth offer in. I thought it doesn't matter, and she went to her client and said, I'd go with this offer, and we were not top dollar. We had great terms, but we were not the highest price, and we got the deal. So,
I feel like it would be a shame if I didn't piggyback off that and say, if your lender isn't calling the listing agent when an offer is submitted, to not only introduce themselves and back the buyer, but a lot of times listing agents tell me information. Like, they will tell me, this offer's pretty strong, or you're close. I've had it where literally a listing agent's telling me what we need to do in order to get an offer accepted. I don't know why. I don't even really ask. But if your lender's not calling, you need a new lender. Hi. Okay. Next.
We know where you can find one.
What Debra said. Yeah. So I've had people email me offers, but I don't know they're in my email. I mean, seriously, come on, guys.
Yeah.
When you send somebody an offer, two things. One, pick up the phone or send a text and say, hey, want to give you a heads up? I just sent you an offer. Number two, don't just send me a dot loop or something where I've got to figure out how to open the thing and read it and whatever. Come on, take 15 minutes and write a cover email that, to Deborah's point, is gracious and professional. It says, my clients relocating from blah, 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 are super excited to buy this unit. Here are the key points, so I can scan it while I'm driving on Lakeshore Drive, right to my next appointment, because I can't open a thing, and I can see it and know. But take the time, please. That's the craziest thing. I don't understand why they want me to do their work for them.
I have one thing to add, and that is no love letters, by the way. Not only are they problematic on so many other levels, but that is not going to get the deal over the finish line. However, think of it as a bio. So I like to say, this shouldn't be a marriage proposal, this should be your resume.
Right.
And as the agent, write a few sentences about,
Cash deal.
and,
Or they don't put your name on the contract.
oh,
Oh my God, it's really?
so many things, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Go ahead.
Just one real quick thing. What we always do is do as much research on the seller, like Google, et cetera, to see what there might be some personal connection that you don't necessarily have to beat them over the head with, but there might be something that you can either tell the listing agent or include in your cover email that may help you get the deal. And then real quick on the seller side, just so it's the one thing I always do as a listing agent that receives multiple offers. Part of my, hey, get back to me with your final and best by X o'clock tomorrow is who is your lender and who is your inspector, because that matters. If it's nutjob inspector or strip mall lender, I'm probably not going to go with that unless there's a reason, or unless I know the agent so well and she or he vouches for those two, for the attorney and the lender. But there's nothing as you.
Nutjob inspector.
Well,
Oh,
both
boy.
retired. Thank God. Tom Corbett, yeah. He's dead too. So. But he yeah, so, I mean, there's others too. There's other, it's not that you want to avoid a bad inspector, but if you got you have four offers to choose from and one is reasonable and isn't going to scare the hell out of the buyer, why wouldn't you go with that? That's substantive to your seller, so.
This next question is for you, Mario, and it's kind of two parts, so we'll start one at a time. We were talking a little bit about this before the panel started, and I'm interested to hear more about what parts of your business are you leveraging to stay in production while maintaining balance?
Okay, so I just started working with a company out of San Francisco that interviews me for an hour with some AI transcription bot, and then they create blog posts that I just actually started editing a few this morning. Pretty amazing, and instead of taking hours and hours of either my writing or hiring someone else to write, this has been really, really good. So it's given me hours back that I didn't have before, and it's actually pretty good. And they do, I know you mentioned SEO, there's apparently something called AIO, which is search engine optimization in the AI world. So these guys are helping me with that and have given me, like I said, a lot of hours back. Systems, I've been a systems person since the very beginning. I'm an engineer as well as a lawyer, so getting from A to B to C in the most efficient way has always been something I've tried to do, and if it doesn't happen, I don't sleep well at night, so that's always been something I've done. And the other thing I leverage, and this is something I was telling you about it, as soon as, for the newer agents in here, as soon as you can afford to do it, hire someone to pay your bills and to keep track of your money. Therefore, you don't have to worry about that day to day or week to week. That person can also pay your assistants and be your payroll person. So again, you don't have to worry about that. And then come April 15th, October 15th, all the receipts, all the spending, everything that you have to get together in that panicked month of March and April is already done. And again, it gives me hours back and lets me sleep at night. And by the way, if you're buying a place or refinancing, guess what? You tell your accountant, here's what I need, talk to my lender, and then all of your documents are done. So instead of spending hours and hours and hours doing that, you're having someone else do that. And the other part of my question here is, what's the biggest mistake agents make when trying to grow a team? They don't hire fast enough. But sometimes they might be ready to hire and then they hire that person too fast. So twofold. One, if you're taking calls and having to put a client on hold while an inspector calls and an appraiser wants something from you, it's time to hire somebody. But when you do hire that person, make sure you hire the right person, because it is extremely expensive and time consuming to hire the wrong person, have to train them, and then have to get rid of them, and then you're just back to square one. But I think agents that want to grow their business, if not their team, need to hire someone, even if it's part-time, even if it's, family, friend, whatever it is, just to get some of that off your plate so you can be more productive. I think it's important. I do think a lot of agents could be way better or way higher producers, but just are afraid to hire someone because of either the expense or the type A, the control thing that a lot of us have. Once you learn to see that, I think you can do better and you can sleep better.
Yeah.
And have more time.
I think one thing you mentioned earlier that I kind of had an epiphany about when we were talking was condensing your non-negotiables to be done in the first part of your day, hour, 2 hours, and then not only do you know that you are done, but if you're having a day where you need to rest, you know you did what you had to do to be able to do that, or get hit with whatever comes.
That's good. This goes for work or personal stuff. Like my mornings start with my 6-year-old at like 6:30. We do a couple of New York Times games together because he likes to find words he doesn't know and stuff. But by 8 o'clock when he's off to school, either I'm driving or my wife is, I've done my morning routine, or part of it at least, and I don't start my day really unless there's something urgent going on until about 9 or 10 o'clock. I mean my work day, because I want to have my sort of get ready for the daytime in the morning. And if the work day isn't super busy because I have people that can help me do stuff and I don't have to do anything, I've got no problems doing things that enrich me, so that when I do have a day where I'm slammed for 18 hours, I don't feel burned out. And I think it's important for everyone, especially in December when it's kind of slower, take time for yourselves and don't feel like being busy isn't being productive. So definitely make sure that you take time for yourself, because a lot of that's regeneration time, and you'll be more productive once you get back from that.
Yeah, love it. This is a good segue into your question, Jennifer, about which personal habits, routines, systems contribute the most to your year-over-year growth.
So I'm going to answer that in a lot of different ways. I think, first of all, you have to make a choice to be a lifelong learner, like full stop, right? None of us know everything, and if you think you do, it's changing next week and next month anyway. So in order to grow, you've got to, go to conferences, network, be part of mastermind groups, and read, listen to podcasts, like engage. Like you have to have a growth mindset. For me to grow my business, my head's got to be on straight, and that means I need to exercise. I have my Midtown buddy over there. I like dancing, so I go to Zumba class, and I made a choice. This is going to sound really weird, but when I go to that Zumba class, my choice is to smile at the instructor for the whole time because I'm channeling her and I'm smiling at her, and I can't walk out of there no matter what crummy deal or thing that blew up or bad inspector, because I have 45 minutes where I'm in the front row only looking at my teacher, and I walk out of there feeling like a new, happy, healthy person. So you have to prioritize those things, and I'll say in that vein, and some of you know, I had like 3 kids under 2 a bunch of years ago, which is enough to make you crazy. And I was doing that while my business was at its peak. And so I prioritize date night. Like, you have to, again, put your relationships in there. If you let your business run your life, you will not be a happy, healthy person. So you can have a big business, but that's that metaphor about big rocks and little rocks, right? You start with the jar and you put your big rocks in first. So you plan your family trips, you plan your date nights, you plan the time that you're going to be with your kids, just like you said. And then the little rocks are when you fill in all the other things. If you let work fill it in first, all those things that are important, reading, exercising, eating healthy, date night, like, you won't have time, and then you'll be a mess. So for me, it's been really way too long I've been in this business. It's 31 years.
Wow.
And there's a couple other folks in the room I know. I saw Millie's over there, and a couple others who've been around for a while. It's a long time, and you could get burned out, but you have to prioritize how you stay fresh. And then how do I keep growing my business? For me, and everybody's different, for me, this is all about relationships. This is about being of service. So the way I grow my business is I talk to people. I have lunch with people. I have coffees. I throw parties. I have people at my house. Like, my business is very personal. I talk to my friends when they have marital problems. I'm like there. I want to be their person for life. I'm not just their realtor. And through that, they know that I love and trust. They feel they can love and trust me because they know I love and trust them. And that's how my business has grown. It's really just all about people and loving people.
Love it. Our final question is going to be for all 3 of you, and I want you guys to take as much time as you need to explain this, because I think it's important. If you had to rebuild your business from scratch in 2026, what's one strategy you'd start with to scale quickly? You want to go first?
Sure, me?
Yeah.
As much as I hate to say it, because I'm not a fan of social media, I think this is the 5th time I've said that today. If you are new, so this is for someone that would have different advice for myself or anyone here, or a tenured agent. But I would hire a rock star social media strategist, and I would hire Christian. I like to write, so I could write some of my own blog posts, but I'd call Mario and say, hey, what's that company in San Francisco that you mentioned?
Red
and what is it?
They're called Red Tomato.
Red Tomato, I like the name.
As an Italian, you should.
Yeah. Short form video, I'm going to say it again. If anyone looks online to see what our what strategies to deploy to develop business, not just in real estate, but in other service-related industries, you're going to see short form video. So go out and learn what that is and shoot a bunch of them. Engage with A&N Mortgage, because I understand you can get a lot of social media with them, and they're a great lender, so you have 2 things going for you. But when it comes to social media, be authentic. It's important to look at, I look at, and again, I don't even make my own posts, I'm embarrassed to say, but I look at social media, real estate agents, lenders, cars, you name it, restaurants, like what is everyone doing in social media locally and then also across the country. And then I look at what I think is working, what I like, what do I think will appeal to my audience. I'd like to have something that's unique, not doing what everyone else is doing, and I'm as guilty of that. Everyone's doing the videos, likes to walk through video and look at this, and now we're doing videos going into our favorite coffee shop and supporting local businesses, all of which is great, but also look or think outside the box and try and find something that is different for this market and unique to you. Be authentic, very important. The importance of the blog posts are that's going to ramp up your SEO, your rankings on Google. Do not use, I'm assuming Red Tomato, when they write these, it's AI generated, but then you make them unique. Very important that all of your content is unique, otherwise you actually get dinged. And then in-depth, fresh, and authoritative content. And then I would host an event for all of my friends so that they know that I'm engaging in the real estate or that I'm in real estate, and slowly work that network.
Love it. What about you, Mario?
It's funny, when I read this question, I thought, what would I do different from what I did back in 2002, knowing what I know now as well as what there's available now to build a business. And other than the social media part, which I'm with Debra, it's a necessary evil. I hate every minute of it. I hate all the videos we have to shoot. I hate it all. But I do it because, again, you kind of have to. So if I were to start my business from scratch, I would probably start with the one thing I would do from 2026 that wasn't around in 2002 would be social media. I probably would be more open to it. Since I'm starting my business, I would probably have to be more open to it. I wouldn't feel like it's supplemental, and I think it would be integral, so I would do that. But what I did in 2002 and I would do today is put myself out there, like Debra said, but also say no to nothing unless it makes absolutely no sense. So I remember back in 2002, got a call from some seller in Rogers Park for a one-bedroom in one of those, those like motel-looking things with the balconies in front.
Motel 6?
Yeah, and it was, I think the value was like 150 grand. And
That's a lot back in those days.
yeah, or maybe it was 50 grand. I don't know. But I remember it was like 6 o'clock on a Friday, and I'm like, what? Anyway, I went up and went to the listing appointment. I got the listing. Turns out that the wife was the sister of one of the White Sox pitchers. And I ended up getting business through the White Sox over the next few years. And on top of that, it taught me that, okay, I'm not going to drive to Rogers Park again for something like this, but I think I want to make sure that I can have that business. So I hired an agent that cost me almost nothing. And I started to take in whatever I took in. I would try to find someone or some way to service it, even if it was, back in the day, Bronzeville and Kenwood, there was a lot of new construction there. I made sure I had an agent who could help me there. So I hired as I went along, and I think I would do the same thing now. And again, like I said earlier, as far as back office or assistant work, I would hire someone as soon as I was, juggling 4 phone calls in a day. That I would do that again. That's really about it. The social media part, I think, is a new thing I would do reluctantly, but I have to.
Jenny?
I'm going to answer this a couple of different ways. So if not if I were starting over, but if you're new, I think social media is important as an add-on after you learn how to sell real estate. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm so tired of these people that are like, look at me, look at me, look at me, but they don't know how to fill out a contract. So I think that, don't forget, like the first thing is being a really skilled practitioner in our industry. Know your stuff, like learn how to be a great broker first, then you earn the right to go on social media and say, I'm a broker. But
I think we looked at the question the way it's written.
Right, I know.
We made the assumption.
But I had to get on my soapbox for that one because it's another one of those things. If I had to start over, now. I think one of the things I would do is, I did this actually when I got in the business, but I do it again, which is I'd focus on a smaller group of people that I knew. When I got in the business, I had just finished a 2-year term as the president of the Auxiliary Board of the Art Institute, and that group of 60 people was how I built my real estate business. And I knew them and I networked. I had already gotten to know them well in a professional setting that wasn't asking for anything. And that was my core, and that's how I grew my business. And I think over the years, you know, you do so many deals and you have so many clients all over the place and you get scattered. And now my goal is to go back to a smaller list and really engage and be present in a high quality way with that smaller list of people, and not try to be in touch with, you know, 1,000 people, because you can't. And then you come across insincere. And so I think for me, it's, if I was reinventing, I'd narrow my focus again. And also I think having a niche, you know, being an expert in an area separates you from the other 14 or 18,000 people or whatever. It's hard for the consumer to find you if you're just one in a herd of other brokers. But if you are an expert in an area, it's easier for SEO, it's easier for branding, and don't be afraid like, oh, you might not get that business if you're this person. But if you read Real Deal this morning, they interviewed Emily and Carrie and Matt Laracy, who are the 3 top, and Emily was talking about, you know, being like, selling so much in Lincoln Park, and she's built and earned that niche. So when I'm going against her in a listing appointment, she's got that headline, right? That I'm like the Lincoln Park girl. And so that's an example of somebody who did that really well. So think about what is your niche and lean into it.
I'm pleasantly surprised with your answers, because it's really cool as a newer person in this room to hear that to be great, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You can post on social media for free, educate yourself for free, and be a good person for free. So that's what I took away from that. Before we kind of let you back out into the world to get more coffee and food, does anybody have any questions for these top producers that they want to share? I knew Dean would have a question.
So, being in this industry as long as you have, about 15 years ago in the mortgage industry, regulation came down on what we make on a loan, our commissions. Just a few years ago with that lawsuit, you know, Mario alluded to his family members, but now with the advent of social media, everyone's an expert. We're not worth anything that we do, and you have to sell over that. I always say it matters who you work with, because that's why I've been trying to do it on the online library. It's mind-numbing. How do you deal with that? Because you can't just say goodbye. How do you educate that bar that you bring forth, because you've been around long enough to do that? That's an important aspect of the landscape that's changed drastically.
I think the question is kind of your value as an agent and how you sell yourself in a market where everybody is pretending to be number one, right?
Well, all buyers they're an expert because social media.
You show your history, you show what you've done, whether you've been an agent for 2 years, 10 years, 40 years. You show what you've sold. It shouldn't come across as egotistical or bragging. Anyone can say they're number one at something. Stay away from things like that. Your testimonials. Make sure that if you have a presentation, if you have a short version and a long version presentation, make sure that you feature some testimonials. Make sure that they're on your website. And it's a great question, and I think a lot of us are still wrestling with how do you not come across, we're so used to the assumption that the commission was paid as part of the transaction, and it is still a transactional cost, but now it's on a different side of the settlement statement, and you do have buyers that say, well, why should I work with you? And you may lose deals over that because the buyer can say, yeah, but I can do this for free. Well, then you have to figure out the way to have the conversation about, how do you know, based on the asking price or based on Zestimates or Redfin estimates that are often wildly incorrect. I mean, there's a 30% swing up and down sometimes on a Zestimate. How will you know if that's the right price? because the data says the property should sell at 94% of list price, or so your buyer is getting information online that might not align with the real market value. And then you talk about your history or your history in the neighborhood and knowing the nuances of the neighborhood. Whatever tidbits you can grab to present yourself as an authoritative voice, as opposed to, well, I'm worth it because I work 75 hours a week or something like that.
Yeah. Love it. Any other?
Yeah, I agree with Deborah. One of the things that I've always tried to do is, even when I was first starting the business, but now that I'm an old head, I guess they just call it, I try to establish my expertise without beating them over the head with it. So it's sort of a subtle way or an indirect way of showing expertise, either in the building they're looking at or the neighborhood they're looking at, and come up with things that they're maybe not thinking about, like school district, for example. Your kid may not go to Bell, but you probably want to buy in Bell versus some other school district. Resale is important. You need to think about these things. In a condo building, talk about whether something's self-managed or not, and explain why a lower assessment isn't always better. And all of a sudden, especially with a buyer, they see the light bulb go on, like, oh, I never thought about that. And as for a seller, I think the same thing. A lot of sellers don't want to know what's wrong with their house before they list it. And even though I'm not always a fan of pre-listing inspections, if someone's owned a house for at least 10 years, and I know that going into a listing appointment, I will bring up things that maybe they haven't thought about. So again, trying to get them to say, oh man, I thought about that, is a way of showing your experience and expertise without beating them over the head with it. I think that helps.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Sure. This is focused to those that do a lot of personal touches. And I think, Jennifer, you said that you cultivate a relationship, lifetime realtor, so to speak, and you have grown, and you probably have transactions, over 3,000 completed transactions or more over 20, 30 years. How do you reconcile your ability to do that personal touch that we all want to do, handwritten? You can only handwrite so many every Thanksgiving, Christmas, or St. Valentine's Day, if you will. What are you doing to kind of bridge that gap so you become genuine? Or can you share some things that might help?
How do I bridge the gap and stay personal? As my business has grown, I lose some people. I don't always, and some people I didn't make that amazing connection when we bought. So it's okay. Like, I think for me, one of the growing up things about being a broker is letting go. And when somebody who you haven't talked to for a long time lists with somebody else, when I was newer in the business, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. I did a great job for them 10 years ago. Why didn't they call me? And now I'm like, shame on me for not calling them. So that's why I said I would pull in my list and say, who are the people I really need to be in a relationship with? We were recently at an event in Indianapolis, and we're talking about being in flow, right? So I do dinner parties. I like to cook, and I like to host in my house. And when you bring clients into your house, it's like they're in your inner circle, and it feels really special. But not everybody can do that. You can do events in restaurants. I did a disco party, and I brought in a John Travolta impersonator, and it was like the best party. And I hired a photographer, and I gave everybody photos of themselves in their disco clothes. For 10 years, when my kids were little, I did a Halloween event every year. And I had a full bar. It was a daytime event, so the parents were drinking, the kids were getting high on sugar, and the photographer was there. And about 2 months later, I delivered at their house like coffee mugs with their kids' pictures, dressed as pumpkins or whatever they were, And that was for 10 years. I did that, and those were really important clients that then bought, multi-million-dollar houses as their kids grew. I mean, there isn't a right answer. It's an authentic for you. I'm hosting a table I've now just joined the Timeline Theater Board. I do think getting involved with a not-for-profit is really important. because it shows that you are a service-oriented person. But so I bought a table. I've got a table of 10, and I've got 9 client women coming to this tea and cabaret downtown on Friday. And it's like, you know, it's 9 women, but it's 9 women where I'm going to have these 2.5 hours of face-to-face conversations. And I was texting them and saying, oh, we got VIP upgrades, like I'll see you, heart emoji, you know, wine glass. I do a lot of emojis, you know. This is about, you know, this isn't like, and I'm not too busy for your referrals. Right?
Your best friend listens with someone else.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's really about being present. Like, put your phone away. Like, be with people. Do it the way they did it in the old days. Because talk, yeah. That's like, I mean, really, that's how. So that's my trick. It's just being it's being real, being in a relationship. Calling, like right now, my kids are all in college. It's like calling people and saying, oh my God, how are you doing? Like, your house is so quiet. So I'm not calling to say, like, you want to downsize? But hopefully the conversation will go there. Right?
Very good. I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for such an amazing panel. I really appreciate your time. We have a surprise for you. Andy, can you go to your spot really quick to show off what we have?
I'm so excited about this.
Okay, before the surprise, if you're an A&N loan officer in the room, can you put your hand up? I don't know if there's, okay, perfect. If you need a lender to partner with your 2026 business plan and do all of the pieces of the puzzle that they mentioned today, please come and find one of us, because of course we want to have you in here, build community in here, but we also do want to partner with your business and support you and your clients, because you deserve a great lender partner to do more than
raffle ticket.
Yeah, I know. We'll get there. So the surprise is a raffle. So Andy, could you show off our prizes, please?
Prize number 1.
Okay.
Sorry,
Woo!
Prize number 2. Prize number 3.
Nice. Where's the? Do you have the tickets?
I got the tickets.
Okay, cool. Okay. I guess I'll pick. Wait, why don't each one of them pick?
Oh yes. Okay.
She can pick one.
You can choose your prize too. Prize number 1.
Bianca.
Bianca Everta? Bianca?
Gotta be here to win.
Blanca? Bianca? Okay.
The last name?
Everta?
I don't know my last name, but I'll be on
HVERTA.
H-U-E-R.
Oh, perfect.
well, that's
you. Yay.
Okay, come on down.
Okay.
Mario.
Carrie Pike.
Carrie? Oh, there you go. You can go.
Madeline Peterson.